morning and welcome to the December edition of Curriculum Connection. I'm Medford's Curriculum Director, Laura Lundy. Tonight, we will focus in on volunteerism in our school district. During this time of year, giving gifts is commonplace. However, some gifts are worth more than money. One of those is time. Tonight, we will meet some of the individuals who volunteer their time to make the Medford District students so successful. Every year, volunteer coordinator Cheryl Knoll works with 300 to 400 volunteers in our elementary schools.
Schools cannot exist without our volunteers. We have Medford Read volunteers that read with students.
Once upon a time, he was a little girl named Alice who lived in the city by the sea from the front stoop.
We have volunteers who come and work math with students. We have volunteers who come into the workroom and do cutting out laminating, counting papers, putting projects together for teachers.
Volunteer Sherry Purdy comes every week to help out.
Run copies, I trace, I cut things out on the die cutter, count papers out for classrooms. So just a little bit of everything. Help her with centers, and that's when they break the children into groups and they have a different activity at each table. And I'll work at one of the tables, and usually I end up doing the games, the learning games. They're fun. The kids are fun.
Kindergarten teacher Chris Anderson says having volunteers help allows her to get a lot done in a short amount of time.
We can do 4 lessons in an hour. Normally, 2 of the lessons today would have taken an hour by themselves, and we got 4 done. And the students get the one-on-one help that they need. So I could watch my group, and I said, okay, yep, you can keep going. I'm just going to let you go at your own pace, and then I could help the little ones that were struggling. So it works really well.
The Medford Middle School also has a number of volunteers. Former English teacher Judy Kleiber came to MAMS 12 years ago to volunteer after another opportunity didn't work out.
A few days after I decided I had to look for something else, I drove around and I think I asked a quick trip, is there a middle school or a junior high? Because that was my background. Somebody directed me to the middle school, which was the old one, adjacent to where we are now. And I just walked in and asked to see the principal. He said that he'd ask around and get back to me. And so about a week later he called, and I just feel very lucky because I've been with Mrs. Shear all that time.
The volunteers that I interviewed stated that volunteering is just something they feel is important to our community and to them.
I worked for 30 years for Kraft Pizza, and when I retired, I couldn't just all of a sudden stop, and I wanted to do something productive, and they said that the school always needed volunteers, so I came up here, and my children went through school here in Medford, and I was working, of course, and so I wasn't able to help. So I thought, well, now would be a good time for me to be able to give back a little bit of that.
Of course, number one, feeling useful. And I guess working with the kids, you're rejuvenated all the time with their enthusiasm and eagerness. And then I guess the other thing is keeping in contact with educational vocabulary, what's happening, what's the latest thing, and a person doesn't even have to ask. If you just walk around these halls and you keep your ears and eyes open, you get to stay in tune with, in this case, something I have a passion for.
Well, I volunteered at different places, and this is my favorite, and this is the one that I'm still volunteering at, because they treat you so well here. The teachers, the staff, the people in the office, Mr. Miller, everybody is so kind, and they include you in their little luncheons, and if there's goodies in the lounge, you're always invited, and they appreciate what you do. I mean, there isn't a time that I come in that I don't get at least one thank you, and sometimes several, and it makes you feel good about what you're doing.
If you or someone you know would like to volunteer in our school district, contact Mrs. Knoll at the Medford Elementary School.
Part of my job is being a volunteer coordinator. People sign the volunteer forms and I get them back, and then they let me know what job that they would be interested in volunteering for in the school district. If we didn't have volunteers, we would have to pay for all the work that the volunteers do. The volunteers do a ton of work a year.
Besides having volunteers come into our buildings, our students also volunteer. Jill Fortin's activity period has volunteered their time to raise money for various organizations. This year they earned over $1,300 for Indian Head by putting on a soup supper.
We made clay bowls and then we painted them, and then there's some people come in and painted them, and then we sold them.
We like to better our community, make this a better place that we're living in, you know.
In recent years, the high school student council has taken the driver's seat when it comes to organizing volunteers for the community.
Student council in our school is kind of a middleman for all of the clubs in our school. So if someone emails us about a service opportunity, if student council doesn't want to do it themselves, we will contact like Key Club or some other club if they want to do it and ask for volunteers from them.
I feel great when I volunteer because people need help out there, and I think a lot of people don't realize that. I think they're all just caught up in themselves, and people actually need help.
What you do for the people or the kids just makes you feel good.
Well, very recently I went to the bowling alley and it had NIT bowling, and that was where the Special Olympics all get together, and they do this fairly often, and they go around to different bowling alleys and they all just bowl. And some of them are really, really good at it, and it was the best time ever because we didn't bowl, but we just helped them and kind of brought them prizes, and it really just, it's a way for them to be recognized where they can be recognized.
Volunteering is a valuable resource to our school district. Not only do volunteers provide services that we could not afford without them, but it also shows our students that the gift of time is a valuable gift to give. For Curriculum Connection, I'm Laura Lundy.